8:42 p.m. The click of the lock wasn't loud, but it landed in my chest like a hammer. I was inside a glass conference room, the kind that feels more like an aquarium when the rest of the floor is empty. My boss had just pocketed my phone, slid it straight into his blazer with a smirk, murmuring, "Policy. No distractions while we fix this." If you've ever worked late and wondered how far a manager would go, you might want to hear me out. And if this story makes your jaw tighten even once, you already know what to do. Subscribe, hit like, whatever keeps this kind of thing in the light. He stood outside the glass wall now, mug in hand, pretending to scroll his own device. "Scrub the numbers," he said again, tapping the table. "Before tomorrow's review, I need clean." I'd been through weeks of his errors. Meetings pulled off my calendar minutes before they started. Time theft accusations dropped in Slack for everyone to see. Requests to HR marked as read, but never answered. Tonight was supposed to be catch-up, but I'd never agreed to be locked in a room without my phone. The building made it worse. After 7 p.m., the whole place switched into magnetic lock mode. Badge readers chirped at every door. Security guards logged every movement in a handwritten book at the lobby desk. I knew all this because I'd stayed late before. Voluntarily, but not like this. I tapped on the glass. "I need to call HR." He didn't even look up. "You'll thank me tomorrow. Numbers first, then whatever complaint you think you're drafting." I sat back, staring at the reflection of the fluorescent light buzzing above me. The room smelled faintly of dry erase markers and stale coffee. My hands itched to grab the keyboard, not because I wanted to, but because stillness felt dangerous. I opened the shared file he'd flagged. Rows of data stretched across the screen like prison bars. He wanted adjustments. He wanted compliance. But the truth was, he wanted me to massage quarterly revenue figures that had already been reported. Every few minutes he circled the glass box, sipping his drink, eyes on the spreadsheet through the glass. Like a zoo visitor, checking if the animal was performing. At 9:03, I typed a message into the company chat, requesting permission to contact HR immediately. Locked in conference room by manager. No access to personal phone. I hit send. The status dot glowed green, meaning the message had left my machine. And then nothing. The cursor blinked back at me. My reflection blinked back at me. Outside, he leaned against the wall, scrolling. I breathed slow. This wasn't just intimidation. This was a trap, one I was about to document. 9:07 p.m. The air in the conference room had already gone stale, the kind of recycled dryness that sticks in your throat. I'd never noticed how quiet the building could get when everyone else had gone home. No printers, no phones, not even the hum of distant voices, just the buzz of the fluorescent tube over my head and the occasional creak of the HVAC. My boss leaned against the wall outside, backlit by the hallway lights. The glass made him look taller, sharper, almost predatory. He raised his mug in a mock toast. "Clock's ticking," he mouthed, then tapped his watch. I focused on the spreadsheet. The cursor blinked like a pulse. He wanted me to adjust deferred revenue entries, lines that weren't mine to touch, tied to contracts already signed and filed. It wasn't just unethical. It was traceable, and I wasn't going to be the name on that audit trail. I pressed Ctrl+P instead. A simple one-page printout. The spreadsheet's properties. Time, date, author. My boss's initials embedded in the metadata. I slid the sheet into my notebook. Tiny victories. Evidence doesn't shout, it whispers. At 9:15, I tapped the glass again. "I need to call HR, now." He waved me off with the back of his hand like I was a gnat. "Later, after you finish." The absurdity hit me in waves. My phone was in his jacket pocket. The main doors downstairs required a badge that would lock me in after 7 p.m. without security override. Even the emergency exit had a red LED glowing steadily, armed. Fire code required that it open from the inside, but the magnetized lock hummed like a dare. I typed another message into the company chat. Escalating request. Locked in room. No phone. Manager present. Message sent. No reply. By 9:23, my palms were damp. I stood, pressed both hands to the glass. I'm asking you again. Let me call HR. He smiled. That awful practice smile. You're fine. Don't make this bigger than it is. Finish the scrub, then we'll both go home. My chest tightened. I wasn't fine. I was trapped, on company property, held against my will with my communication cut off. I sat back down, forced my breathing slow. If he wanted silence, I'd give him silence, but on my terms. I opened a blank document, typed chronology of events, date. Then line by line, I began logging. 8:42 p.m. Manager confiscated personal phone. 8:43 p.m. Manager locked conference room door. 9:03 p.m. Request to HR via chat. No reply. 9:15 p.m. Second verbal request denied. The click of the keyboard sounded too loud in the empty office, but I kept going. At 9:31, the motion sensor lights in the hallway went out. For a few seconds, he was nothing but a shadow beyond the glass, the tip of his cigarette lighter glowing as he fidgeted. The sight chilled me more than the darkness itself. He tapped on the glass, harder than before. Keep typing, don't stop. I nodded, but my document wasn't his spreadsheet anymore. It was mine. A record. A lifeline. The panic still scratched at the back of my throat, but documenting gave me focus. Evidence wasn't just a shield. It was a weapon waiting to be unsheathed. And if he thought locking me in made me powerless, he hadn't considered that every door has more than one key. 9:42 p.m. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, not from hesitation, but because I realized every keystroke was turning into leverage. Each timestamp, each detail, each refusal, I was building something heavier than any locked door. The glass door rattled. My boss tugged at the handle, peered in, and said through the crack he barely opened, "You're not done. Stop with the diary crap. Numbers first." Then he slammed it shut again, the magnetic bolt clacking like a vault. I stared at the glowing red LED above the emergency exit. My heart pounded, but not from fear this time, from resolve. The building was designed for compliance, not cages. Fire code overrides don't care about managerial power trips. At 9:48, I stood, walked to the door, and pressed the crash bar. Nothing. I pressed again, this time holding it down for 3 long seconds. A sharp electronic chirp cut through the silence. The red light blinked green, then back to red. Somewhere down the hall, a low alarm began pulsing. Within 2 minutes, the security guard jogged up, keys jangling. He frowned at the blinking panel, then at me. "Everything okay here?" My boss appeared instantly flustered. "False alarm, nothing to see?" I stepped out, voice calm but firm. "He locked me in without my phone. I need the incident number for your log, please." The guard blinked, caught off guard by my composure. Yeah, 1 sec." He scribbled in his book, tore off a yellow slip, and handed it to me. "Incident, 2473. The paper was thin, but it felt like steel in my hand. My boss hissed, "You're making a mistake." I slipped the slip into my notebook, right next to the printed metadata page. "No, I'm making a record." At the lobby desk, I asked for a temporary loaner phone. They kept them for contractors who forgot theirs. It wasn't fancy, but it could call, and more importantly, it time-stamped every login. By 10:07, I was outside in the cool night air, dialing voicemail. The city smelled like wet asphalt and cut grass, a reminder the world was still out there, beyond his glass cage. I left myself a message. Documented, locked in, phone confiscated, request to HR ignored, emergency exit override triggered, incident number 2473. I didn't yell. I didn't post online. Not yet. I just documented. The next morning, I was at the building manager's office at 8:15 sharp. He wasn't surprised. The security guard had already filed his report. I asked politely, "Can we place a hold on last night's footage? Just until HR reviews it." He nodded. 72 hours retention. I'll flag it." By 9, I was back at my desk, smiling faintly as my boss walked in, face pale, tie crooked. He didn't say a word, just slammed his door. On my screen, the chat app showed 2 unread messages from the night before, both from HR, both time-stamped after 10 p.m. both marked, "Please discuss directly with your manager." I saved screenshots. Evidence isn't about drama, it's about patience. By noon, I had compiled a time-stamped chronology, the incident slip, camera retention request, screenshots of unread HR replies, printout of spreadsheet metadata. It wasn't war yet. It was foundation. And foundations don't crumble when someone yells. They crumble when the weight of truth finally presses down. That evening, I drafted an email, not to HR, not to my boss, but to the compliance address buried in the code of conduct, the one that went straight to the board's audit chair. Subject: workplace safety and financial reporting concerns. I didn't accuse, I didn't embellish, I just attached the evidence and closed with one sentence. Please confirm receipt. Documentation secured externally. I hit send, and for the first time in weeks, I slept. 8:02 a.m. the following morning. I walked into the office earlier than usual, the kind of early that made even the cleaning staff glance up in surprise. My badge chirped at the door, time-stamping me into the system. I wanted that log. It mattered now. Every small entry mattered. On the way to my desk, I stopped at the notice board by the elevators. A laminated sheet had been pinned there for months, ignored by most. After-hours building policy. I snapped a picture. Clear as day. No employee may be confined without personal access to a communication device. Fire code overrides must remain unobstructed. Words written by lawyers hidden in plain sight. At 8:15, I opened my laptop and began exporting. First, the chat logs from the night before. Message sent at 9:03. Message sent again at 9:15. Both with my name. Both unreplied to until after 10 p.m., after the incident already escalated. Screenshots saved. Second, the printer queue history. My one-page metadata printout registered in the log. Timestamped, device ID, tray output. Evidence that my boss had told me to alter figures. Saved. By 8:27, I drafted a formal request to IT. Please provide an audit trail of badge reader entries for conference room C between 8:30 and 10 p.m. last night. I CC'd the compliance mailbox, just enough oversight to prevent IT from quietly burying it. At 9 sharp, HR called me in. 3 of them in the room. Their voices were smooth, trained. We understand there was some confusion last night. Confusion. That word hit harder than the lock. I slid the envelope across the table. Inside, my chronology. The incident slip from security. The photos of policy. The chat screenshots. I didn't raise my voice. Please confirm this will be reviewed by someone outside my manager's reporting line. They exchanged glances. One cleared her throat. We'll look into it. Good, I said, because building security already has footage flagged, and I've documented externally. The word externally did the work. Their eyes shifted. Their rehearsed calm cracked, just for a moment. By 11:15, compliance pinged me directly. A younger officer, new to the company, maybe too new to have been trained to look away. Can we schedule a call? His message was short, but it carried weight. At 12 keys, I was in a small office with him. He had my file spread out. He tapped the spreadsheet metadata printout. This isn't just a safety issue. This touches reporting integrity. I nodded once. He leaned back, chewing the inside of his cheek. We'll escalate. Quietly. That afternoon, while my boss barked orders 2 doors down, I drafted one more letter, shorter, sharper, addressed not to HR, not even compliance, but to the audit committee mailbox, listed in the code of conduct, the one no one ever uses. Subject: workplace safety and reporting concerns. 1 page, bullet points, attachments referenced by file name. No drama, just facts. I printed 1 copy, sealed it in an envelope, and walked it down to the legal floor myself. The receptionist looked confused when I asked her to log it in. Board correspondence, I explained. She nodded and slid it into the locked bin. By 5:30, I'd done more than survive. I'd built a fuse line, calm, quiet, threaded through logs and slips and policies no one had expected me to notice. My boss didn't know yet. HR didn't know yet. But the weight had shifted. And when weight shifts, glass cages don't just confine, they crack. 9:12 a.m., 3 days later. The air in the office was brittle, the kind that carried whispers instead of conversations. People walked faster in the hall, doors closed sooner, and even the coffee machine hissed quieter. Something had shifted. At 9:30, my inbox pinged. Subject, interview, compliance review. The kind of subject line no one wants unless you've been waiting for it. I was escorted to a neutral conference room. No glass, no locks, just a beige box with a round table. 2 compliance officers were already there. One I recognized from our earlier call. The other older, silent, his pen already moving before I even sat down. They didn't waste time. "We've reviewed your chronology. We need to confirm certain details." I handed them a USB drive, labeled, sealed in an evidence bag, chat logs, badge reports, printer queue screenshots, building incident slip. The older officer looked up. "And the phone?" "Confiscated. Bluetooth disconnect log should show it. Ask ET." They nodded, notes scribbled. My boss's name circled once, twice. By noon, HR's director was reassigned. The announcement email dressed it up as a strategic rotation, but everyone knew the timing was too sharp, too clean. At 1:17 p.m., my boss stormed past my desk, face crimson, tie loose, phone glued to his ear. He didn't look at me. He slammed his office door so hard the glass rattled. By 2 p.m., word leaked. The quarterly revenue deck he'd polished was under review. A client had asked for underlying data, and the numbers didn't reconcile. Audit committee involved. Board not pleased. By 3:45, IT pinged me quietly, confirming your request. Logs show Bluetooth disconnection of your phone from internal Wi-Fi at 8:43 p.m. Reconnected at 10:09 via lobby device. Do you want a copy? Yes, I typed back. Please timestamp. I leaned back in my chair, heartbeat steady. I didn't need to shout. The system was shouting for me now. At 4:20, compliance called again. You're on paid leave during the investigation. Non-punitive. Standard practice. Standard practice. Those words tasted better than coffee. That evening, my personal email chimed. A recruiter, a competitor firm. "We've heard of your diligence," the message said, "and we'd like to talk." Someone had whispered my name outside the walls. The story wasn't viral, it was surgical. Quiet power moving in the dark. I didn't say yes, not yet, but I smiled. Over the next week, dominoes kept falling. The audit trail confirmed altered invites and missing timesheets. Security footage showed me inside the locked room, him outside pacing. The client escalated formally, asking why reported figures didn't match signed contracts. By Friday, the board's audit chair sent a bland but unmistakable email to all staff. Commitment to safety and integrity is non-negotiable. Employees who raise concerns will be heard and protected. Protected. The word landed like a verdict. I wasn't fired. I wasn't silenced. I was a witness. And witnesses aren't cages. They're mirrors. My boss didn't show up Monday. His parking spot sat empty. By Tuesday, rumors said administrative leave. By Wednesday, it was termination for cause. I didn't need to ask for details. The system was delivering them to me, one quiet collapse at a time. 9:00 a.m. Monday. His office was empty. The blinds still half closed, a coffee mug abandoned on the desk, a chair left slightly turned toward the window, like he'd meant to come back. But he wouldn't. Not this time. At 9:15, an email hit every inbox in the company. Leadership transition. Corporate code for removal. The text was bland, nearly sterile. Manager's name is no longer with the company. We thank him for his contributions and wish him well in future endeavors. No mention of cause. No mention of locks or confiscated phones. But I didn't need them to say it. The silence said enough. By 9:30, compliance asked me to join a final debrief. 3 people this time. Legal, compliance, interim HR. They spoke carefully, every sentence measured. We've concluded the investigation. You acted appropriately. Your documentation was thorough. We appreciate your professionalism. Professionalism. That word did more for me than any forced apology. They slid an envelope across the table. Settlement agreement. Standard protections. No gag clause on safety matters. You remain free to discuss with regulators. We encourage you to review with counsel. I skimmed. Paid leave extended, salary protected, a quiet bonus, labeled as retention incentive. But the real win was a single line buried on page 3. No restriction on external reporting of compliance concerns. At 10:42, the building manager called me personally. Footage has been archived as requested. Just wanted to let you know we kept it secure. His voice was calm, almost fatherly. Most people wouldn't have handled it the way you did. At 11, I sent 2 emails. The first to night security. Thank you for incident number 2473. Without your log, none of this would have stood. The second to myself, with all attachments zipped. My full chronology. HR replies, badge logs, audit trails, subject line, the night of the lock. By noon, I was outside the building, breathing fresh air like it was something new. My phone buzzed with another recruiter's call, this one from a firm I'd admired for years. They didn't talk in circles. They wanted me, on my terms. At 2:30, I signed their offer. Better title, better pay, fully remote if I chose, and one clause I'd asked for specifically. Permission to run a side project. A worker safety resource hub. Quiet, factual, a place for people like me to see that documentation isn't paranoia, it's protection. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with the yellow incident slip in one hand and the final HR email in the other. I framed them together, not as trophies, but as proof. Proof that silence can be weaponized, but so can patience. I didn't write a tell-all. I didn't go viral. I didn't need to. The system had folded in on itself, and I'd walked out stronger. As I shut down my laptop, one last thought landed heavy and certain. Glass cages only hold you if you stop looking for the cracks. And if this story makes you rethink the power of keeping receipts, or if you want more endings where the bad guys get caught by the weight of their own arrogance, well, you know what to do. Subscribe, share, hit like, because the next story might be yours.